Hello, I'm Karisu, and I enjoy the weird, the scary, the obscure, and the most importantly, the Japanese. I'm here to talk about Japan's banned dark web game. And no, it's not some fake ARG bull shock factor thing like Sad Sadness. It's actually a game you can only find on the dark web if your country banned it. It is called Rapelay. And now I'm only going to refer to it in its Japanese title like this because I'm not sure if I can say the actual name on YouTube. But yes, that stands for Great Play. Just remove the G. Now, this game I've heard of in passing and was shocked to find out it's almost as old as me. And it's probably older than many of you watching this video. And I bet you didn't expect this dark web game to be a not safe for work game. Well, of course, that's for interesting reasons. Anyway, let's go on to the game itself and discuss what it is first. Rapelay is a Japanese eroge game made by Illusion, an eroge game developer known for some really out there eroge games. They have a solid collection of games up until this point, mostly focused within the 3D genre, and some anime babes who you may or may not be getting your butt violated by a big black guy named Carl in jail for viewing. Why Carl? Well, he just chill. He in there for insurance fraud. Likes a little butt action from time to time. Anyway, Illusion was really popular among eroge fans. They had a pretty decently sized modding community and had some real appeal to gooning with the work they put into this game. Artificial Girl and Artificial Academy was one of their better releases, even including a creative character, so all you sports games and Souls-like game lovers better get into this game. Now, they really hit a line on April 21st, 2006 when they decided to release Rapelay. Rapelay was not allowed to be sold anywhere outside of Japan or supported but anywhere in Japan. However, when Honey Select Unlimited released and Faku became a thing, Illusion was so bravely inspired to release Rapelay. Rapelay is a 3D eroge game based in the glorious land of Nihongo. You play as a young sex maniac from a rich family who is quite used to doing the whole touching people without their consent thing on a train. He's what's known as a chikan in Japan, or basically a sex offender. Well, you see, that's not going to fly here, so he got arrested, and that's the game, everyone. Is what I would have said if this was a public safety announcement. However, this isn't that at all. In fact, I think this game would qualify as public safety endangerment. Well, after all this, he gets released, and his one goal is clear. To find Aoi, the girl who got him arrested, and well, just go ahead and translate the name of the game. In fact, the name of the game sounds like how it would in English, so yeah. Anyways, you go after Aoi, her mother, and another girl. Jesus Christ, what is this guy, the John Wick of sex offenders? Yeah, the story's pretty straightforward, so you know what you have to do. Divide and conquer strategy, and you gotta get all three of the girls. Now, here's the basic gist of the gameplay. At first, you're looking at pictures. I guess it's to get you to prepare your lotion or whatever, you sick freak. But then, once the cutscenes are over, basically, it's go time. You use your mouse to touch the girls anywhere and all over. There are multiple locations in the game, and I shit you not, you can surprise love all of them in each one. In fact, this game has a lot of effort put into it. You can have relations with all of them at once, or you can even get your friends all in on the action. You may be like, Karisu, what do you mean by that? Look, I mean you can get all your friends on the action, okay? You can multiplayer party up and each take turns putting aluminum in their microwaves. There's also a movie mode where you can make movies to replay scenes and create special ones. Like, holy fuck, these guys had some passion making this. This game has a full fleshed out story, including some scenes where you're stopped by the police. So I'm going to try hard and piece together the full story as best I can. Also, please like and subscribe. I had to go through so many corn sites to find this, and my search history is actually fried. So please like and subscribe, dog. So, when the pervert is freed and looking for Aoi, he doesn't find her, but instead he finds her mother, Yuko, whom he takes hostage and makes obey him in all his orders. Because if she doesn't, he threatens to do something bad, which we all know what that bad thing is, to Aoi. He then proceeds to take her to the bushes and does... Look, man, it's been repeated multiple times. You know what he did to her, okay? Yuko is taken home for more, all while Aoi, who I believe in the midst of all this eventually did get captured, and he got both of them there. However, Aoi escapes and runs to the street for police help, and of course, there's like no one there, no one helps. As the pervert protag catches her, and well, let's just say, like, you're not gonna like the way I describe this, but she won't be pooping right for a minute. Oh my god, okay. Someone hears her scream and calls the cops, and he runs away with her, and she doesn't resist because she's exhausted. He runs home with her to continue to commit more heinous acts, all while her mom's locked up in another room. Cops, however, do start looking for him. While the cops do start looking for him with the speed of an overdose crackhead in Philadelphia, they turn to an actual detective to help, which thank goodness they finally got someone competent. However, while that's happening, boy, is Yuko not having a good time. Okay, now it gets crazy. So the perv now wants a new girl, so he finds a teacher named Raiko, I believe. The detective also finds out the pervert was sleeping with a policewoman and covering this entire thing up. A police girl named Bael comes to the perv's house to talk to him. This is the policewoman the perv is laying down pipe on. So this part's really fucked up, but like Yuko and Allie thinks they're getting saved, but the police lady is like, hell nah, I'm actually here to tell my love that he's in danger and the police are onto him. So the perv also brings in the teacher and Allie's lover Kazuki, who she thinks is going to save her, but well, you know good damn well he isn't going to save her. He does what he wants to, what everyone else has been doing in the game, okay? Thankfully, new reports come out that Aoi and Yuko are kidnapped and the police are investigating. Mid non-consensual intercourse, Aoi sees the phone on the table and tries to call the police. However, the phone has a password like most phones, so sadly this just aggravates the pervert. And from what I get, the game is mostly endless till you get one of them pregnant and don't abort the baby or get arrested. There are two endings you can get. The black ending ends where you get one of the ladies pregnant. However, you, the pervert messiah, ends up accidentally falling onto the track, getting killed and making them single mothers. There's also the red ending where if you do cowgirl with Aoi before she breaks, she stabs you, the pervert, and she does it while laughing maniacally. The game ends with her being questioned by law enforcement about the murder of Messiah. Yeah, so it's really extreme. Albeit, I think there are worse stories out there. You can just look up on the Insight, you know, the one with the numbers. I feel like this being a literal simulator is what separates it from being just a fucked up story. The power's in your hands because it gives you direct control over these girls and you do whatever you want to them, basically. By the way, let's talk about availability. The game was just out there chilling because it wasn't being sold outside of Japan until a member of British Parliament, Keith Vass, found the game somehow being sold on Amazon and included it in an example of games needing to be regulated. Equality Now, a non-governmental org focused on protecting women and girls' rights since 1992, also came in urging Japan at the time's Prime Minister Taro Aso to restrict sales of the game because it violated the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Violence Against Women. In 2009, these actions accumulated to the game being restricted even in Japan. However, it is officially banned in Argentina and Australia, and it's not for sale even anywhere else. However, that does not mean it is unplayable, as it was a DVD release game. You see, back in the day, before you young whippersnappers were born, we had something called physical media. So you permanently own stuff that you bought. So with this in mind, if you have torrenting knowledge, you can sell the 7 Cs and get it. You have to do some searching, but it is indeed there for download. Now, I'm not going to post any links because I do not want to post something like that on my channel, nor do I want to put torrenting links anywhere on my channel. But if you have a Tor browser, basic type abilities, and a gift of literature, you can find it for yourself on a torrenting farm. So now let's look at the general internet reaction of the game at the time, because the internet wasn't as sanitized or as corporatized, for better or for worse, depending on your outlook back then. I found a really interesting post on Reddit from 15 years ago talking about Rapelay, and it's shocking because it's on 2X chromosomes, a famously extremely feminist subreddit. I will put up the image, but the TLDR is basically that the two users agree that the game is very disgusting and horrible. However, they both thought, was it really worth banning this with all the realistic depictions of gore and murder in gaming? The second person goes on about how games are just fantasy, and I find it interesting how in the last paragraph, the poster goes on to say similar things in defense of the game that's actually been used to defend violent video games. The fact that violent video games may actually reduce violent tendencies, and in fact, it was discovered around the same time in 2010 by Harvard Health that violent video games didn't really seem to have a good direct correlation with them and real life violence. So this does bring in the question, if fictionalized depictions of sexual crimes have the same impact. I do also, however, think the reason they were more willing at the time to accept this was because of the other side of the debate was so extreme. See, the reason now it would probably seem more heinous is because it hasn't really been that big of a debate topic in so long. It would have been really difficult as a female gamer to try and ban this game using the usual talking points against this game, while still trying to defend extremely violent video games, because you would in fact be giving the other side some type of ammo. If the video games cause violence moving every game Steam again, the controversy around it today would be so interesting in the current social climate where over the top gory violence is indeed accepted, yet not sexual violence. Reason why it's good to always debate yourself and your beliefs, no matter how popular and how debatable they may seem to you, because you never know when the opposite side will gain steam as well. Do I need to use any examples? It's all around us in 2025. You can probably think of something that's happening right now. On a less serious note, Honest Gamers reviewed this game, and wow, man, the internet was actually edgy as shit back then. But he gives it a 4-star review, yet kind of flames the game for not even being that fucked up. Dude mentions another game called Virgin Roster, which I'm not even going to bother looking up. I think I'm cool off that. He also mentions the violence in video games being compared to this game, which, once again, I guess it's fair because it was a very hot topic at the time. The young people like violent shit, and Skrillex was dropping bangers like Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites in 2010, so yeah, a lot of edge back then. With that all being said, what do you think? I want to hear your opinions, as I've never really heard a defense to this game until researching this video. I was actually really intrigued by how popular of a sentiment it was shared to be back then, that it's not much worse than games with murder back in the early 2010s. I think video games' immediate impact on real life from not just games depicting sexual content, but also violence will probably be an upcoming topic somewhere in the future, with both being grouped together. Also, stay tuned for the next video, because it will also be a Japanese game that's incredibly disturbing and one that I'll actually do a gameplay for, okay?